Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Brentford versus Man United on Saturday Night Football. Live, only on Sky Sports.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5 this evening. This is Football Saturday, as always, at this time of the week. Remember, Football on Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. Get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. You can text us 53106, tweet us at Off the Ball. Listen on News Talk. We're streaming the conversation as well, so you can watch us on the Off the Ball digital and social channels for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. Delighted to be joined on the line by the former Republic of Ireland international David Meyler, and in studio here with the football correspondent of the Irish Independent Dan McDonnell and the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward. David, delighted to be talking to you again for the new season. Have you summered well? Have you been back to Cork?
I haven't been to Cork, no. I've got the 2 kids off school, so we're a bit full on with them, and I'm trying to work on my golf game, so trying to get that all in at the same time. I've not been back to Cork, but we might come back towards the end of August, just before they go back to school.
This is probably a first ever on Football Saturday. We're all wearing shorts because Ireland has turned into Spain this week.
Oh yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's indeed. It's a different vibe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very strange.
Walking around those streets,
I feel like
outside.
Just William walking around in shorts, to be honest.
Yeah.
Pat's game in Tallaght the other night, the atmosphere pre-game, everyone having beers outside the bars, it was just like being on holidays.
It was like, the Tallaght the other night, it was a bit like being in a major tournament somewhere.
Right.
Do you know that vibe? Where you're sort of like, you're around the shopping centre beforehand, and it's just everyone walking around in shorts, and their jerseys and stuff. Very unusual, very unusual. But I suppose, is it the new normal, Johnny? Johnny will get very energised if we start going down this road. But
it's the new normal, but it's going to get worse.
Yeah, something like that.
It's tough I do have a lot of sympathy. I was looking at the Curragh earlier, JD. It's on today, and it looks more like the Val. It was just yellow, and I have a lot of sympathy for, people trying to keep grounds intact and race courses intact. Like League of Ireland grounds, have basically had very little water, and it's hard with a lot of games. So it brings on a lot of complications in a sporting sense. And I was just out on the bike briefly this week, very briefly, and I was wondering, how did the lads in the Tour de France cycle in 40-degree heat? And they did it. And the guys playing the game today, the earlier game, Everton and Villa, you could tell there were a couple of water breaks. And you could tell it was difficult for them. And didn't see the game last night, but by all accounts, Shamrock Rovers were very, very tired at the end of their game from all their travelling and the weather and all that as well. But it doesn't make it easier when you're out there.
Playing in extreme heat, David, did it happen many times in your career?
Do you know what? Obviously, when I got sent through the topics and all that, what we were going to be discussing, I had a little think back. I can't remember too many games where we had the heat like we do now. There was one time we were in Germany for pre-season, and I do remember having 2 water breaks in the first half. It was just ridiculous. I think it was like touching on 40. And there was a time when we were with Sunderland, we were in South Korea. And obviously with the humidity over there as well, it was just ridiculous. Like, you'd warm up and you couldn't pull your t-shirt off you. You had to get people to help you because you were just soaked. So even I caught the end of Villa Everton there, and you can see players going down with cramp. That's the big problem. Is obviously you're just drained and you're trying to get fluids back into you. That's why the water breaks are important. It might be a bit boring for some people and they mightn't like it, but it is really important for them.
Yeah, you just think how crazy it was, that Ireland-Mexico game back in 94. Ireland should be beaten 10-0.
And when you think that originally the decision to bring the World Cup to Qatar was made with the summer in mind. Now they just had to change it, but that would have been I know they had their air-conditioned stadiums or whatever the plan was, but that would have been a tournament full of Ireland-Mexicos effectively, and it's I suppose I'm thinking like the Ireland-Armenia game earlier this summer, where that was played at 5 o'clock local time and probably tactically played at, well, I don't know, there might have been TV elements to it as well too, and you can see it, and that's what I'm like. I don't know, like, David, is there any difference between experiencing this at the start of the season or the end of your season, or it's just bad in every scenario, I would assume? I don't know. I guess for some of the players now who are, this year with Qatar and a few things in it, like the sports science people come to the fore, really, don't they, in terms of sort of managing workloads and being careful with all the conditions you have to deal with at this time.
Yeah, and even as you touched on there back in USA 94 and that, nowadays everyone has GPS units on them. You might see the odd player here and there when they take their top off, they kind of got the dominantly guess that they're going to attack on those sides because they're colder. But like there should be almost some little slight fixes for games just because of the heat. But that's probably dictated by television and money that they can't.
Yes, we have Man City against Bournemouth, Aston Villa beating Everton 2-1, as Johnny said. They're Arsenal and Leicester, Brighton and Newcastle, Southampton and Leeds, and Wolves and Fulham, all 3 o'clock starts. So Nathan Collins starting for Wolves, Conor Ronan on the bench, Gavin Bazunu back in goal again for Southampton. Obviously looks like he's first choice there now. For Southampton at home to Leeds, Brentford against Man U at 5:30. So Johnny, Everton can't score any goals. I know they had Lucas Digne scored an own goal, their former player, but that's what it looked like to me on the television watching that they put a lot of players behind the ball. They can't score any goals. They don't have any strikers. They sold Richarlison, and it's going to be a struggle for them.
They sold Richarlison. They've been very unlucky with injuries, JD, but you're looking at them today and they're a team that is probably going to go down or go very close on that performance. To be fair to them, when they conceded the second goal, they did try and they showed a little bit of like a late rally. Onana came on. He was culpable for the goal, lost possession midfield. Both Villa's goals basically came from transitions, from kind of winning the ball back. And Danny Ings did very well for his goal. He kind of turned in the box, but Everton, they do look like a team that's struggling a bit for belief. And as you say, they really lacked verve up front. I haven't been looking at the markets or whatever in the betting, but I imagine Lampard is going to be the manager that will be under pressure very, very early. And his opposite number today, it's not like Gerrard isn't that long away from being under pressure as well, because their form sort of derailed last season. Villa weren't great, to be honest. I mean, the commentators were saying it was a very good game. I thought it was okay. It was played in hot conditions. Two teams that didn't have a lot of quality in the game in general. But if you are an Everton fan, you do wonder with Richarlison gone, Calvert-Lewin injured, the other injuries that they've had. I think the bright spark today was Onana when he came on. He had a really direct run for the own goal that Villa couldn't deal with, and he was good. But I thought Frank Lampard, you can already tell his body language at the end of the game. He seems a little bit strained, a little bit under pressure. And you got to remember, like Lampard as a coach is kind of, I think the jury is out on him. I don't know what David makes of it all. Like I think he didn't get very long at Chelsea, but like at Derby, he wasn't there very long either. And essentially what he did at Everton was kept him up, but they stayed in the position they were when he took over. But I just sometimes you look at like Man United, and we talk about Man United as if they're the Man United of old, and you look at their starting 11 and like they're just not very good. And I do look at the starting 11 today. I don't know what you think, Dave, but they're just not a very good side.
I'm looking, I'll go back to your first point on Lampard. Coaching wise, you hear different things. Derby, I heard, he was very good with the players, very good in the pitch, whatever. Obviously he's now, he's got Ashley Cole with him, Paul Clement. I worked under Paul Clement. I had him with the Ireland under-21s as a kid. Didn't remember a whole lot from that time. Certainly I had him at Reading, and Paul is an excellent coach. I would have questions over his managing ability, but that's, I suppose, where Lampard comes in. That's kind of, he's an iconic figure in the game. There's no getting away from that. It's, can he find the mix of, being the manager and leaving the coaches carry out his philosophy? Because I do think Paul Clement is a superb coach. Look at his track record with Ancelotti. There's a reason why he brought him everywhere. But touching on Everton, last week they huffed and puffed. I think their home form is going to be crucial for them. Whether or not they can, sustain enough to get enough points to kind of hold up. You would be concerned, obviously, losing, Calvert-Lewin to injury and selling Richarlison. You're looking, they're kind of hanging their hat on Anthony Gordon. He seems to be the bright spark. Anything positive they do, like in terms of Damari Gray, Alex Iwobi, I'm not so convinced. Obviously, they can have flashes of abilities, but are they going to carry you out throughout a season and be the difference in games? I don't think so. So there, Everton, the question then kind of comes down: are there three teams worse than them potentially? But will they get enough points? I don't know. Those games against your sides that we would all kind of put between 12 and 20, they're the games that they have to win, and their home form is going to be crucial.
Sort of a mad discussion to be having about them, though. Like, when you consider that, and I think Dave was completely right. Like, I think that's where they're going to be. Or, you know, I think they're going to be in that discussion, certainly. But when you think a couple of years ago, some of the money that was put in, and there was a real discussion of that this could be the year they push into the top 6, or, you know, they could be in there. And now you're like 2 games into the season, and quite reasonably expecting them to, you know, to be down there, to be in that battle, which basically, to me, I mean, Johnny mentions Lampard. Like, I think Lampard and Hasenhüttl are the 2 managers that are in the sort of frame that people think might be departing early. I think if Everton are still in some kind of big relegation chat at Christmas, I'm not so sure Lampard will be there. You know, I think you just get that sense of volatility around the place that could happen.
Well, it's been a revolving door of managers like Koemans and Benitez and Marco Silva. And I was reading a lot about the 30 years of the Premier League, and one of the big 5 teams were Everton. And now look at them.
It's a very attractive job in some respects, because, I mean, if you're a proper football person, Goodison Park is a proper football ground. They've massive and really almost like an outlier these days in the Premier League. They've extremely passionate support, and it is a job that would be very engrossing to take. But I mean, was it last season? I think at one point, JD, the bottom 6 teams had all sacked their manager, and as Dan said last week, the teams down there will basically the likelihood is if you're down there, you're going to sack your manager this season. Likelihood is Everton will be down there, so the likelihood is they probably will sack Frank Lampard.
Yeah, well, it's Marshiri, you know, it's like they haven't really managed it well, have they? It's a bit like Man United, a very similar kind of situation. They've splashed the cash, but at boardroom level, at executive level, you haven't seen, you know, really good management and players on inflated wages and that kind of thing. They don't have any striker. Like, who's going to score 15 goals plus for Everton this season? And that's like another about Conor Cody in, and, you know, they look probably better from the back forward through the pitch, but who's going to score them 15 goals? Is Calvert-Lewin going to score 15 goals? He's out for a while now. What about Gerrard, David? Because Bournemouth was a poor result last week, and Michael Beale's gone to QPR now. Like, he obviously did well at Rangers, won a title, but where does the discussion around Steven Gerrard go? Is it just for a couple of years for him to kind of find his feet in, I suppose, a rung up from Rangers and Villa?
Do you know what, though, JD? After last week's performance and the result, there was a lot of talk about, you know, Villa fans were unhappy. And as it was Johnny touched on there, towards the end of last season, they did drift off. And there was a lot of criticism came his way. Like, Stevie will know if he doesn't finish top 10, he's going to be under pressure. They've invested some money. They've got, which I think, a very good squad. Certainly, I will put them in the top 10 of the Premier League, but they've got to get results. Like, even today, I think the big thing he'll take out of that, yes, they scored the 2 goals on the counter-attack. It was more kind of like I said, I caught the last kind of 5-10 minutes of it. They were hanging on. Martinez made 2-3 good saves. Tyrone Mings made a great tackle on Rondon. Like, that was kind of a bit more character building for them to get kind of that, we can do this, we can see the games out. Even Danny Ings' post-match interview kind of said, you know, you got to grind out these results. With Stevie, you know, obviously, as you said, Michael Beale's gone. He's brought in, is it Neil Critchley from Liverpool? Obviously, he's got Gary McAllister. He's got some experience. I know Stevie does a lot on the pitch himself. I think it's just, the Premier League is one of those leagues that all of a sudden you could have 3-4 games where they don't go particularly well. And, you know, fans do turn very quickly. And then all of a sudden you find that little bit of pressure, and then owners, just, you know, Johnny said there, the bottom 6 managers all end up getting sacked. And if you're not getting those results, you will be under pressure. And, you know, clubs will look to turn over managers to get someone in to try and give them that new bounce and that new lift. But I'd expect Stevie to be fine. I expect him to be in the top 10, give it 9-10, finish in those kind of positions. I think they should have too much quality if they can keep players fit.
Goals in the Championship. Bristol City 1, Wigan 0, and 2 goals for Rotherham, 2-0 lead against Reading.
Rotherham going well, JD.
Yeah, Benny going well. And Millwall 0, Coventry 1. No goals in the Premier League in 3 o'clock kickoffs, and Aston Villa 2, Everton 1, as we said. A lovely text in here in 53106. This lineup of the show, Football Saturday, are the first team starters. It's a long season. I understand the need for squad rotation, but this is my favourite lineup, even though I worry you might be all a bit too nice. Yeah, my mother, she hasn't texted in a while actually, but that was nice. So I want to call David on that. Do you reckon Villa are a top 10 team looking at them today?
I don't like. I can't say I know an awful lot about these slew of teams, like the teams that are coming up. Watched Fulham last week. Thought they were good. Bournemouth here they're a 0-0 against Man City. So these are the teams you're obviously expecting to be down there playing 10 behind the ball. But I don't know. Looking at Fulham last week, I don't know if Villa are good enough to not necessarily be down there in the relegation kind of area, David. If they were to hit a slump in form, I certainly wouldn't be mad comment about them finishing top half.
Well, I'm not saying top half. I'm kind of saying on the half. I'm trying to kind of claim that.
Mid-division.
Yeah, mid-division. Like the question is, can you find 10 teams worse than them? I probably have to rack my brain here to think of 10 teams, but certainly the 3 promoted. Everton, there's 4, so you're already looking at
Wolves.
Yeah, there you go. I think they're better than them. Leeds, yeah, that's another one.
Brentford.
So we're at what, 7? Brentford, yeah. So I'm at an 8, 9. I'd like to think that they're better than all those. But he had a great opportunity towards the end there. He went through. He should just lift that ball over the goalkeeper. I don't think he'll get you 7, 8 goals. But then you look at the creativity. Buendia, Coutinho, Leon Bailey. They should be getting
1-0 Man City. Gundogan.
They should be getting 7, 8 assists. Do you know, that kind of way? I'm just looking at them thinking there's enough there. I'm a big fan of Martinez in goal. Look, time will tell. Obviously, their home form's going to be crucial. It is a beautiful place to go play football. A lot of teams enjoy that. It was one of the grounds we all look forward to. Even today, you look at, I remember Martin O'Neill saying years ago that the groundsman never wanted anyone to play on the pitch because he loved it so much. It's beautiful, but I'm kind of hanging my hat in it. That's where I expect Villa to be. I imagine Villa fans expect to be up in that, that 10, 9 to 8 spots, looking to build for Europe in the next 2 years. But, time will tell.
Assist for Haaland here. Yeah, assist for Haaland, JD. Obviously, he did a great game last week, and just a lovely little instinctive hooked ball on the left foot into Gundogan, and you're hoping that initially I thought Travers had actually saved it, but no.
Well, Travers has had a very good start to the game. He's made 2 big saves in the first 10 minutes, including one-on-one when the ball could have been squared to Haaland. He's actually started well, but I mean, they're sort of, they're not by design, but they've been camped on the edge of their own box, Bournemouth, just because they've been pegged back in the bits I'm seeing. But the thing about Jared though, I was trying to look there at the longest serving managers beyond Klopp and Guardiola, which are the 2 obvious ones, and there's only 4 more in the Premier League that have been there for more than 3 years at their club. So it'll be Thomas Frank, who again came up, so it wasn't all while in the Premier League, Hassan Hüttl, Brendan Rodgers and Graham Potter, and
not a lot.
And when you think about it, that 3 years included COVID, which there was a football shutdown, so it almost gave everyone probably an extra 4 or 5 months of job security. So it's completely blown the stats. It's so there's a lot of longest serving managers probably at some of the trigger happy clubs just because it was during COVID. So it does show that, and this is the thing, you talk about the teams that maybe are in the bottom 6, they'll generally change their manager. Although I suppose Brighton have kept patience with Potter at times. I know they dumped Houghton and they had one season with Potter where they were down there a bit, but the mid-table ones, I think just sometimes if you're a mid-table manager, you just get to a point where it's we can't break into that top 6 we can't break that sort of ceiling. So, and you're just about safe. So then everyone just seems to get a bit bored with you. Hassan Hüttl seems to be in that sort of vibe now where it's
he said he wants to leave.
He's started talking a bit, but I think of just maybe a burnout factor as well too.
Well, it was a story in the papers this week about the players being unhappy with
him.
You
see that stuff starting to seep out, but he has done a very good job
absolutely
there, but not he's probably done as much as he also can. Yeah. So maybe the pragmatic thing then is to get out because it can only get worse if you overstay your welcome.
Be an Alan Kirbishley.
Yeah, this is the thing. But see, Gerrard, how long into his stay at Villa does he reach? I mean, I know he's not there that long, but if they sort of 10th, 11th, something like that, whatever way they turn out to be, after a season or 2, people just start to grumble about you anyway. Yeah, that's it. You're done.
About a week in this world. 53106. If you want to get involved with a text message. What about Erling Haaland, David? Last week, even today, the strength he's shown there for that assist just poked it through to Gundogan 1-0. He looks the real deal. A lot of people would have, maybe been questioning can the Bundesliga form transfer, but from what we've seen the very early stages so far, it's been positive.
Yeah, well, look, it's clear and obvious for everyone to see who's watched him certainly the Community Shield or last week. It's his movement. The thing that's impressed me the most is he's 6'4", and his turn of pace is frightening. Like even just as you said there with the assist for Gundogan, that's pretty straightforward for a player of his ability. But it was the next one. Rodri's trying to clip a little ball over the top, right? And he's judged that it's going to go over the first and a half, and he's already backed into the second one to kind of knock him off stride, where he's a very educated player and he's very smart in the way he goes about in his movement. Look, I outrageously said at the start of the season he wouldn't score more than 20 Premier League goals. My concern was his fitness. He does pick up some muscular injuries, but if he stays fit, then the amount of goals he scores is going to be ridiculous. It will be the difference for Man City in big games and big competitions because he has everything. He's incredible.
It might look like one, like David Conley was saying before the season on OTB AM. He was like, I'll be amazed if he's not top scorer. And it did get me thinking, because a lot of people have spoken about how he'll react. But what David is on about there, that ball from Rodri, I think we're going to see an awful lot of that, JD, this season. Like we saw it with De Bruyne's pass last week. This ball was dinked over the top, and it's that movement, and he's between centre backs. It's a nightmare for centre backs to deal with. And as much as it's nearly impossible to be romantic about this Manchester United project, or Manchester City project rather, in terms of, you know, the ownership and the money they spend. The fact that like he was around the ground as a kid when his dad was there, and he's kind of coming back to a generation later is a pretty cool thing. And he's an awesome footballer, and it's just going to be a lot of fun watching him, because he's this battering ram playing this beautiful game with all these amazing players around him, and it's going to be a lot of fun watching him, if not for defenders.
David, do you think, because I don't know, like I'm just fascinated to see how he gets on, Haaland, and every game he's in, it sort of elevates it, because what's he going to do? Do you think players coming up against him are sort of secretly buzzing to be playing against him and dying to see what he's like, or a little bit terrified? Like, is it different if you're in different areas of the pitch, you know, are centre halves a bit apprehensive, or do you think part of them is going to be like, oh, I just can't? I mean, they want to see what he's like too, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, I think you'll get, you know, Dan, you'll get probably a mixture. Like, I can only go off my own memories of playing against, like, you know, your Manchester United's, Liverpool's. I cherished playing against Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes, like Vieira. Like that was, for me, that was where the bar was set. They were your best midfielders, and you wanted to test yourself against them and to actually see how good they were. I relished those challenges. Like, you can imagine, like, a couple of Bournemouth centre halves going out today, like, kind of going, like, it's 32 degrees, like, we're away. Do you know what I mean? The crowd are excited to see him at home here for the first time. Like, you know, you're in for a proper duel. Some shy away from it, some embrace it. And like you see there, once he gets a little assist, you know, his tail's up. He's thinking, right, where's my goals? We spoke there about Foden should square one for a tap, and he doesn't. He'll be annoyed. He'll be moaning. Like, he'll be all go. I imagine he'll probably play the same as last week, probably 75, 80 minutes. But like, these defenders are going to, you hope that they're going to relish the challenge of playing against them, but we're in for a long afternoon.
He's not really, JD, the type of player you'd necessarily think, oh, I can get in this lad's ear, I can do a bit of sledging here, and I'll I just wouldn't try that with Haaland.
To the David Cliffords about it. Arsenal won, Leicester 0, by the way. Gabriel Jesus scoring for the Gunners.
David, like you mentioned those players, like you just list off sort of Scholes and Vieira and a couple of other, Gerrard, Lampard. I'm trying to think, like, you know, was there one early meeting you had with any of those players? Like, can you remember who was the first real superstar you come up against? And did it live up to your expectations? Like, did they live up to your expectations? Were you on the pitch going, oh yeah, like this is another level, if you know what I mean?
Well, I'd say the very first eye opener I had, I think I've spoken about before, was when I was at Sunderland. I'd have probably been, I think I just turned 20 at the time, and we went to Stamford Bridge to play Chelsea away. I played in the middle of the park. So I just remember, you know, before the game, Steve Bruce called myself and Jordan Henderson to the shower, because you obviously, with the change rooms, you have a lot going on with players getting rubs, getting strappings, whatever. So he's just pulled the two of us in the shower, and he's like, Meyler, you're up against Lampard, Jordan, you're up against Ballack. And he said, look, two incredible players, lads, but their legs have gone, you'll run all over them. And like, we're going now, this would have been 2009, I'd say, right? And I just remember after 20 minutes, Lampard running off with his hand in the air after scoring to make it 3-0. And I don't know if you've watched the Arsenal All or Nothing, but, you know, Arteta, I get why he did he played the You'll Never Walk Alone, but he said like there was a moment where he just kind of stood still in the game and he just didn't know what was going on. I had a bit of that where I was just like, these boys are just zinging the ball around like for fun, and like Lampard is just doing whatever he wants and there's nothing I can do. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like I was in a state of, you know, shock. I couldn't move. I was trying my best to press him, close him. Like another example, when I played against Manchester United, I remember I was told, you know, get after Paul Scholes because he'll drop in as kind of, you know, the deep lying midfield playmaker. And a couple of times I went after him and he just popped the ball off. And then I thought, you know, I was about to, maybe the third or fourth time I went to press him, and I kind of went at 50% thinking he's just going to pop it off and I can save myself. But that second I didn't press him, he turned and zung a ball over our left back for, I think it was like Nani running or something. And I was just like kind of going, wow, he's anticipated, like he's had a little look to see I'm not coming, turned, just done it in like poetic motion. But like, look, I could give countless stories of moments where you just think like the best way to explain it, I always find, is like I've got 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. It's like when I play football with them, that's how I felt. I was like the 6-year-old with some of these, where they're just, they're playing a different game.
Jordan Henderson was like the 3-year-old.
Well, no, I'll give him the 6-year-old. I was the 3-year-old.
Can I ask you on that? Like, did you, when Bruce said that to you, did he believe that, or was it a type of man management thing where it's like you believe in yourself here, you're capable? Because when a manager says that something to you that proves to be incredibly inaccurate, basically, do you start questioning the manager? Or are you thinking, oh, he's just trying to G us up here?
I think you look at it, he's trying to like you got to think, right? Jordan had made his debut for Sunderland when we got that was under Roy. I think we were beaten 5-0. I was on the bench. That was kind of he came on at half time, but that was our first start at Chelsea. That was the team of like Terry, Ivanovic, like your Drogba, like, you know, they were incredible. So I think it was kind of like a little psychological thing of like trying to boost us up without, like, you know, like there's no doubt that he knew that Lampard and Ballack were still flying. Like Lampard was still playing for England. Like Ballack was still playing for Germany. That would have been probably South Africa 2010, wouldn't it? That time. So like he knew that they were more than capable, but I think he was trying to G us up. It was never a question of, you know, looking at the manager kind of going, he's talking nonsense. I think he was just kind of trying to put some confidence in us. But we ended up losing 7-2, and I think we were 5-0 down at half time. Yeah.
Just on that, David, have you ever seen teammates bricking it when they're going to come up against a world-class player like a defender or anything like that?
Yeah, I have. I won't name names, but you know, you do. Like, certainly, I find it happens most to fullbacks when you're playing against like your top quality wingers, the ones who can flip a game in a second. Like I've played against Hazard, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times, and like he doesn't even tie his laces. He's just walking around, and then he picks up a ball and he dribbles past 4. Like it's effortless. There's no, like, it just comes naturally easy to them.
What a goal. Manchester City. And it's De Bruyne at 2-0.
Just comes easy to him as well, JD.
What a goal.
Yeah, but like even he's another one. Like everything he does on a pitch, he makes it look easy, but it's not. Like, do you know what I mean? If it was easy, we'd be all doing it. But that's the beauty of these players. They're so capable of doing anything at any moment.
Oh, that was class.
Yeah, I think that's why I enjoy watching De Bruyne so much. He has this sort of casual way of executing things, and it's like, it's that whole thing about making it look easy. I mean,
cut in from the right and then from the outside of the boot into the bottom quarter of the net. Fantastic goal.
I can see why you had a Gary Lineker kind of moment there, JD.
Many of them. That's
beautiful.
It's beautiful. That is beautiful. 2-0 to Manchester City against Bournemouth. Also in the Premier League, we have Southampton 0, Leeds 0, Wolves 0, Fulham 0, Arsenal 1, Leicester 0, Gabriel Jesus for Arsenal, Brighton 0, Newcastle 0, Aston Villa 2, Everton 1. In the Championship, Cardiff 1, Birmingham City 0 is the result. Blackpool 0, Swansea 0 the latest, Huddersfield 0, Stoke 0, Hull 0, Norwich 0 is the latest, Luton 0, Preston 1, so Preston scoring. Millwall 0, Coventry 2, Rotherham 3, Reading 0, Sunderland 1, QPR 0, and Wigan 0, Bristol City 1. And in Scotland at the moment, it is Rangers 0, St Johnstone 0, St Mirren 0, Ross County 0, Livingston 1, Hibernian 0 and Aberdeen 0, Motherwell 1. We got to take a break. Before we do, want to give you the chance to win a pair of tickets to our Cadbury FC Roadshow at Vicar Street in Dublin next Wednesday, August 17th. So Michael Owen, Ian Wright, Emma Byrne and Karen Carney are our guests on the night for the exclusive off-air event. Tickets are available at otbsports.com/events. For your chance to win a pair of tickets to the Roadshow on the night, just answer this question. Michael Owen ran from the halfway line for England to score at the 1998 World Cup against which team? To enter, text your name, where you're from, your answer as well to 53106. We'll reveal the winner before the end of the show. David Meyler, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward on Football Saturday on Off the Ball here after this.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Brentford versus Man United on Saturday Night Football. Live, only on Sky Sports.
Do you have what it takes to win big?
Hello? Hello? Hello?
So far, News Talk has given you the chance to win over €1.5 million. And the only thing that stands between you and that prize is your phone.
You're joking me.
If we call you, answer within 5 rings and tell us the amount for that day, and the cash is yours.
It's the right answer. Congratulations.
Oh my God. Thank you, Barry.
The News Talk cash machine.
We are so delighted for you.
Listen in each day to find out how to play.
Looking for a last-minute midweek getaway? At gobreaks.ie, prices start from only €95 per night, and you can save up to 25% on incredible 3, 4 and 5-star hotels, with added extras like free breakfast. Whether it's a short break before back to school or some late summer leave, find the best midweek deals and go explore, go experience with Go Breaks, as recommended by News Talk.
Go Breaks.
T's and C's at gobreaks.ie.
Do anything, anywhere with Air Mobile this summer with the Air SIM-only plan. Get no limits 5G data, unlimited calls and unlimited texts. Plus 30 gigabit EU roaming from just $9.99 a month for 12 months. For more, call 1-800-242-627. Go in store or visit air.ie. Air. Let's make possible. $9.99 a month for Air broadband customers. $19.99 a month thereafter. Subject to 5G coverage and availability. For full details, fair usage and T's and C's, see air.ie.
What are you looking forward to for the new season?
Watching every unexpected moment with a Now Sports Day membership for $11.99.
Like Leicester coming from nowhere and beating the odds in 2016.
Absolutely sensational.
Yeah, our 2 Premier League giants battling it out for the title.
Doesn't get much better than that.
It's moments like these that I want to say, I saw it happen.
Stream the Premier League with a Now Sports Day membership for $11.99. Search nowtv.com. 18 plus. Content streamed via internet. Terms apply.
Magic is in the air. The setting sun glistens through the trees. The Secret Orchard Live at Bulmer's Clonmel is coming. It's got live music, great food, and lots of surprises. Order a delicious pint of Bulmer's Draft in your local, and you've taken the first step to winning 4 tickets for this exclusive gig. The Secret Orchard Live at Bulmer's Clonmel, when time bears fruit. Over 18s only. Get the facts. Be drink aware. Visit drinkaware.ie. Find participating pubs and terms and conditions at bulmers.ie.
OTB Sports, in association with Cadbury FC, are returning with a monster football roadshow. Coming your way, August 17th.
Football legends Michael Owen, Ian Wright,
Emma Byrne and Karen Carney will be our guests at Vicar Street as they look back on their playing days and preview the new 2022-2023 season.
This is an exclusive off-air event and tickets are limited, so don't delay. Go to otbsports.com/events.
And remember that the ticket proceeds will go towards supporting Irish women's grassroots football.
T's and C's apply.
The uniform is ironed, the copybooks are fresh, the bags are waiting at the door, you are ready for back to school. But wait a second, you have to feed them too. Don't worry, at Lidl there's bags of savings to be had. We've got a healthy 25% off loads of lovely lunch stuff like yogurts, meats, cheeses and juices through the Lidl Plus app. Now that's an inflation busting offer worth studying. Make school cost less with Lidl. More for you.
At Harvey Norman, we've got all the biggest brands and the latest technology for heading off to college. Like the Huawei MateBook D laptop, powered by an Intel Core i3 processor. Perfect for studying, watching movies, or being creative. Now $569, save €80. Or get the HP DeskJet all-in-one wireless printer. Print, scan and copy everyday documents from home. Now only €49. With tech credit flexible payment options and the best prices guaranteed. In-store and online. Harvey Norman, off to college.
There's never been a better time to buy VHI travel insurance for a range of benefits at home or abroad. For peace of mind when you travel, search VHI Multitrip. VHI Healthcare DAC, trading as VHI Healthcare, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to Collinson Insurance Europe Limited for VHI multi-trip travel insurance.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch Liverpool versus Crystal Palace on Monday Night Football. Live only on Sky Sports.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5 this evening. This is Football Saturday, and Manchester City have just gone 3-0 up against Bournemouth now with Phil Foden on the mark.
Look at the quality of the ball in. I actually don't even know. I'd say at an educated guess, it's maybe Silva. I didn't actually see this little dink in to Foden. We'll see the replay now, but it's a beautiful, beautiful goal again.
David, you could kind of tell it was going to be a long afternoon for Bournemouth when this fixture was announced.
You can just, you know what, JD, the way this Man City team plays, they just suffocate you. They just keep the ball and they just wear you down. They say on average you have to knock the ball from side to side 5 or 6 times.
De Bruyne.
Oh, yeah.
It's the first one. Like Travers, they'll be a bit disappointed with this one now. It's a great move. Takes a slight deflection sort of off his chest. The deflection's a bit deceiving. He probably won't be. He'll judge himself by high standards. Travers will be a bit disappointed with that one now. But
if you're a player here, David, for Bournemouth, do you mentally and physically half down tools now and say, this is 32 degrees, we're 3-0 down, preserve yourself for next week?
No, me personally, no. I'm arguing, kicking and whatever. Like you look at where that initially starts. Ryan Christie tries to lay it back to Jack Stacey. It's a bad pass. Then you're kind of saying, like, it's hard enough playing against Manchester City away from home where you know they're going to dominate 75% possession. You can't afford to turn over the ball. You need to, yes, I get it. Teams are trying to play this open, expansive football now, but if you give these players time and space, they will clean you out. And you can see that, City are 3-0 up now. They probably should be 4 or 5. And it's one of those that you can imagine at half-time is you got to take your medicine and can we not concede anymore? Because Bournemouth are a team that are going to be down there at the end of the season, and goal difference does matter. It's invaluable.
Yeah.
You know, that you just have to say, look, it's kind of one of those now. You can imagine Scott Parker saying, look, lads, you need to take a bit of pride in your performance. Let's go out and, try and win the second half or draw the second half or get about the first to kind of stay in this game. But if you keep committing bodies forward, if fullbacks keep pushing on, City are going to have a field day.
Well, Scott Parker won the best jacket of the day anyway. If anybody saw that jacket,
at least when the centre halves can say they kept Haaland scoreless anyway. This can be. Listen, the problems were further on.
It's all about.
I know he made a goal.
Silver linings, isn't it?
I know he made a goal, but it happened further up.
Yeah, Arsenal 2, Leicester 0. Gabriel Jesus with the second. This thing, the City are so good, David Meyler, that a player like Jesus, there's a World Cup coming up, goes to Arsenal and can really add something to them.
Well, that was the big thing. There was always the question mark over him. Would he be able to, fill the shoes of Aguero? I don't think he ever truly got enough game time to be able for us to make that assumption. We saw him in spurts of 15, 20 minutes in games, and then he'd go through a little period of starting 3 or 4. But back into last season, he was fantastic, scored a lot of goals. And then you look at him, he gets his move to Arsenal under a manager who knows him from, Arteta's time at Man City. He's an incredible pre-season, and now he's one of those that looks like he's happy. He's playing with a smile on his face. His first finish is exquisite. He cuts in from the corner. He kind of scoops a curly shot into the top corner. It's a lovely goal. But he's taken that on from kind of last season, pre-season in. Can he be the man to score? Well, Arsenal are going to need certainly one striker to be getting the bones of 18 to 20 Premier League goals this season if they want to be up in the top 4. So is he going to be that guy? If he can stay fit and play games, he'll create chances, and he's a good finisher.
53106 could listen to Meyler all day. What a legend. Fantastic listening all around as always. It's a great distraction from following Man United, says Joe.
Anything's a good distraction from Man United, JD.
Yeah. Where'd you begin?
You do wonder though if City are City with Haaland, what do you make of Liverpool from last week, David? Are the rest you're really reliant on City kind of having a sort of an off season. If you add Haaland, City, and they click, and they're obviously clicking here, this could be a cakewalk this season.
Well, if you look at the past few seasons between City and Liverpool, they're both turning out 90 plus points, right? The times they don't really drop points at home. If you look at Liverpool, I know Van Dijk has got some crazy stat. I don't even know if he's lost at Anfield in the league. But City are the same. You'd expect them in their 18 games respectively, I'd expect both teams to win, 16, 17 of those. Obviously, when they play each other, they're a bit of a toss-up. There's not a whole lot between them. But every other team don't really come close to them. And certainly at home, they have that advantage. Liverpool is, Anfield, I should say, really is probably a tougher place to go for teams. And they do, teams do crumble in the tunnel going out. But it's just like, okay, Liverpool had the result last week, but you do know that they're going to come good and they'll just kick on. Like City will probably have a slip at some stage away from home. They'll just have one of those days where nothing will go in. Somebody will nick a goal on them. But it's just fascinating because the two of them are so good. And then, like, obviously you've got the element of Haaland coming in. You've got Núñez coming in, which are kind of both similar in their attributes, but so different to what Jurgen and Pep have done. More so Pep than Jurgen. But like Núñez looks the real deal, the way he throws himself about. You look at the impact he made off the bench against Fulham. It'll be interesting to see if he'll start this weekend. But, it's interesting. It certainly will be a fascinating season to watch these two teams go toe to toe again.
You seem more assured about Liverpool. Like I know you were slagging me last week about like my overreaction on the Fulham performance, but Klopp was like really angry after the game, and you do wonder if Liverpool don't start that well. I mean, they've obviously lost Thiago now I think he's out for like 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah, a lot of injuries. Kanate's injured, Josh is injured.
Yeah, I think is Matip injured as well. They've they've lots of and it's kind of obviously integrating new players in as well. I do just wonder. It'll be a big couple of weeks, I think, for Liverpool, because I thought that was just such a listless performance last Saturday. It was totally unlike them, and maybe they were a bit unlucky with the penalty, but you're watching Man City here and you're like, I'm not sure they can afford to go that far behind them even early.
No, they can't. Like I said, these teams are going to, like in a 38 game season, they're going to win 28, 29, potentially 30 of those games. But they're not going to slip up in many. Like, obviously Liverpool already have one. I think Jurgen, if you actually, I'm not saying but people, I've seen a lot of people, trying to take the mick about him complaining about the grass. Teams do that, and it does massively affect you. We did it at Hull. Anytime we played a top team, you don't wet the ground, because with a wet pitch, the ball slips along the surface, and that suits a Man City. That suits Liverpool because it's slick. Like, don't get me wrong, that's not the reason Liverpool lost. The reason why Liverpool drew that game, sorry. Yeah, it felt like a loss, JD, but the whole thing was, there was a lack of hard commitment and fight in them, which we've always seen. Like, Fulham brought the intensity of that game, and they outworked them. There was it's something that you wouldn't ever put with a Jurgen Klopp side, and certainly this Liverpool side is. Like, Fulham were more hungry last weekend. They really wanted it, and they went about their business really well. If that game had been at Anfield, it'd probably been a total different story. Like, even for like Virgil giving away the penalty, like, it was poor defending for a defender that is so good. It's that mistake of not anticipating. He had a tough afternoon. Mitrovic caused them problems, which is unlike him. Considering how well he dealt with Haaland the week before, and they're similar in their stature and their size and their presence. But look, Liverpool will be fine. I know they've got some injuries. I think the big thing for City is they have players. Certainly now adding Haaland, they have players who can turn a game on the flip of their head. I think Diaz is one of those for Liverpool. Of course, they've got Salah. Núñez, I think, will offer a lot more than Firmino in terms of that presence up there. But it's going to be fascinating to watch the two teams.
Your perspective on JD, that you think Spurs will do well. I think there might be something in the fact that Spurs, Arsenal, maybe Chelsea, that the gap mightn't be that great between Liverpool and those sort of teams. And I do wonder, will it be a two-horse race? It'll be very interesting to see how that game goes between, like, these are two heavyweights. And I don't know, Spurs look like they've a serious attacking team this season. And they've started with they started in a mess last season. So I do wonder, has the gap closed? Probably a good thing if it has, to be fair.
Yeah, David, tomorrow is going to be fascinating. Chelsea Spurs. This is a test of Spurs now to see how far they progressed under Conte, since they lost 3 times to Chelsea at the start of the year.
Well, I would look at, I think the major factor for Spurs this season is Conte. I think if you're a football fan, you've got to admire him. never mind if he supported a club you don't like or whatever, but the work he did at Chelsea, Juventus, like there's a feel-good factor about Spurs. I like the signings he's done. Obviously, retaining Harry Kane was important. I think they're the third best team. I think Chelsea are... I'm not sure about Chelsea. I watched them last weekend and I wasn't overfilled with confidence watching them against Everton. Like Tuchel needs a number 9. Obviously, I know people will say, they'll be quick to say to me, they signed Lukaku, but I don't think, as you know, square pegs and round holes. I don't think he was the player for them. Obviously, there's big talks about Aubameyang, who Tuchel knows well. And obviously, he'll know his playing style and his philosophy. If they were to get him, he'd be massive. Arsenal, it's a very young side, you don't know, but certainly I think Spurs are number 3, and I think they should close the gap. I think they will be thereabouts, but I still think they'll come up a little bit short.
Is the documentary any good, by the way, Arsenal? You guys seen it?
I've not seen it yet. No, I'm interested to hear the reviews.
David?
I'm a huge football fan, JD. I watch a lot of football. I'm always curious, even though, look, I've been fortunate to be in positions, like obviously as a player, to see different things. I'm always fascinated to see how they go about it. Like, it gave me an eye-opening into Mikel Arteta. Like, he does some unique things, I should say, that I've not seen before. Like, the you'll never walk alone while they're training. He speaks about, like I touched on it earlier there, about his experience at Old Trafford, or not at Old Trafford, at Anfield, sorry, with Everton. Games kind of passed them by. And he didn't want his players, because they're a young squad, he wanted to try and get them used to the atmosphere by playing, the music. It's a different approach, but there was another one with, he gets them all in a circle and in the change room, and they all start rubbing hands, and then he says, feed off the energy from your teammates. Bit different, but I'm curious.
It's not David Brand, is it?
It's what, there's times it feels like it,
right?
But they win the game. I can't remember who they play, but they win the game, and like there's a great sense of humor after. It was interesting to see, like, Ramsdale, after one game, they win the game 3-1, but he concedes late on. And, like, they're kind of celebrating the change room after winning. And, he's just sitting there with his hands in his head because he's fuming. Because, he's conceding, he wants that clean sheet. And then they kind of try and pick him up and give him a lift. It's I think any football fan, if you're really into football, you should give it a watch. I think at the moment, there's only 3 episodes. I'm kind of waiting for the next batch to be released. Not sure why they do it that way, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I have been meaning to watch it. I'm just wondering, David, like, you've been in dressing rooms and you know what dressing rooms are like. Like, with these shows, and there's been various versions of them now. Like, there was obviously the Sunderland Till I Die one as well, which was very frank in parts. Like, do you buy it? Like, do you recognise the dressing rooms that you see in it? Or do you think they have to be conscious in some ways of the camera presence?
Well, I heard a little birdie in a tree told me about, do you remember the one of Scott Parker? At the end of last season, there was he had that, they were playing Fulham. Do you remember Kamar Roof scored, or not Kamar Roof, Kiefer Moore scored in the last minutes, kind of getting promoted. And there was a big thing about him at half time. That was edited back. There was a lot more in that. There was a lot more shouting and screaming and effing and blinding. Somebody did tell me that was edited back, who was there. So, like, there is also a sense that it's not all hugs and rainbows. Like, there are moments when there's a lot of language used. Like, that could be coach on player, player on coach, player on player. You know what I mean? It's high stakes. You know what I mean? There's times when arguments do kick off and whatever. So, like, when you're looking at some of them, certainly with the bigger teams, if they come in and they're losing, you know that not everyone's sitting down kind of going, come on, guys, we're okay. Like, you know what I mean? Certainly if you've got big personalities in your changing room. Like, the one I would have loved to have seen would have been the United team of the late 90s, early 2000s. Those games against Arsenal and those changing rooms. That's the epitome. Like, the stuff about Mourinho sneaking into change rooms and he's suspended. Like, I now feel when I watch these documentaries, like, managers and players are aware of cameras. There will be moments when they will forget, but certainly it's almost subconsciously they know that they're there and they're being recorded, that you can't fully say what you want to say. You can't express yourself because some of the stuff said in football is totally unacceptable, but it's the way it is.
Yeah. Half-time scores: Arsenal 2, Leicester 0, Brighton 0, Newcastle 0, Man City 3, Bournemouth 0. Like Haaland, hard on watch, isn't it? It's fantastic. Southampton 0, Leeds 0, and Wolves 0, Fulham 0. 53106 for the texts. Lads, is this a Man City appreciation show? Can we hear a little bit more about some of the other teams playing today? Do the panel think Arsenal can challenge for honours? They seem to have turned a corner. Well, we've just spoken about them.
To be fair, the Man City game is on the screen in the studio, and they're scoring a goal every 11 minutes, as per 11 and a bit minutes, or whatever it is. Sorry, no, it's only 3-0. Sorry, I was looking at Rotherham, we're now 4-0 up.
What about my maths there? Yeah.
Benny scoring there for Rotherham as
great.
well.
Again.
So, well, I mean, I'm looking at it. I mean, on the other side, you got Shane Long and Jeff Hendrick on the other side, and Reading, like from their perspective, it's not going to be very Paul Ince-led dressing room at half time isn't, I imagine, going to be a very happy one. But Ogbonna, Rotherham have started playing him up front like Stephen Kenny was.
Okay.
So he was playing as a wing back there.
Yeah.
They've now switched him to a more attacking role, and lo and behold, he's starting to score. He's starting to score goals in the Championship, so it's good for him.
Half-time Rotherham 4, Reading 0. Half-time Blackpool 0, Swansea 0. Half-time Huddersfield 1, Stoke 0. Half-time Hull 1, Norwich 0.
Go on the Tigers.
Yes, get in. Half-time Luton 0, Preston 1. Half-time Millwall 1, Coventry 2. Sunderland 2, QPR 0 at half-time, and Wigan 0, Bristol City 1 at half-time. The guy's going to come from Crystal Palace to Coventry, hasn't he? The
Tayo Adamarola, yeah. 21's Irish from 21's international. Tayo, I apologise.
Tayo, yeah. I had Tayo with under 17s.
Oh, okay, yeah. Tell us about him then, because he seems to be very well regarded within the game by various coaches that have worked with him.
Yeah, excellent young left back, very attack minded. Like he came in kind of, I'm going to say late enough to us. He didn't come in at the start, but like you could see, I think there was, I imagine you'll have seen from your research at times some videos that were posted of him playing for Crystal Palace. I don't know, was it the reserve team, youth team, whichever, and he was just bombing forward. Like he's an exciting young fullback, but Palace do have young defenders in their fullback areas, so that's one worried having. But it's a fantastic move to Coventry. Obviously, I worked with Mark Robbins. I went there on loan. Excellent manager. He's got Adi Vivash as his assistant. It'll be really good for his development now to go and play men's football. It'll be a great experience for him. I think he will be the one to come and play left back in a few years for Ireland.
Really, yeah. There is a vacancy there.
Definitely,
in the sort of medium term, So I think Bagan at Cardiff is the other one that people are maybe talking about potentially as well. But yeah, he could be our man. Yeah.
Okay, got to take a break. David Meyler, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward on Football Saturday here. With thanks to Sky. Remember, football and off the ball brought to you by Sky. Get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. In Scotland, Rangers won St Johnstone 0 at half time. Aberdeen 1, Motherwell 1 at the break. It's Livingston 1, Hibernian 0 and St Mirren 0, Ross County 0 at half time as well. And then the golf up at Galgorm Castle. It's Pyun Chien and Georgia Hall sharing the lead with Amanda Doherty. 3 players tied at 11 under par, with Leona Maguire having a disappointing day. She's 2 over for a round through 13 holes of it. She's 6 under par now, and she's 5 shots off the lead in that tournament, the Handa World Invitational up at Galgorm Castle. Women's golf and OTB in association with KPMG, proudly supporting women in sport. 53106. You want to text us on Man United, Liverpool, anything else in the world of sport, in the world of football. We'll be back with Dan, Johnny and David Meyler between 4 and 5 after this.
Listen to News Talk on Smart Speaker. Play News Talk.
Looking for a great value break in Ireland this summer? GoBreaks.ie will find the best hotel deals for you from just €95 per night.
Go Breaks. Insure my cars.
Hi, I'm Ken Doherty, and when I need car insurance, I contact the specialists at insuremycars.ie. Their team always finds me the best policy at the lowest price and with all the benefits I need. If your car insurance is up for renewal, visit
insuremycars.ie.
City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as insuremycars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
With a smart meter, you can take full control of your home's electricity usage. But here's the important bit. Only if you sign up to an Electric Ireland smart meter plan. Our personalised usage insights will help you make the most of your electricity. So if you'd like to find out the perfect time to put on a wash or see how your bill's looking on any day of the month, search Electric Ireland smart meter plans and find out the best plan for your home. Smart meter required. T's and C's apply.
At Sky, we want to bring kids closer to their heroes than they ever believed possible.
That's why all Sky customers have the chance to win amazing experiences with our women's national team. Win match tickets, a chance to train like the players, your child could even be a Sky VIP mascot. Enter now on your My Sky app. Sky, proud partner and supporter of our women's national team. Applicants entered into ballot. Dates and availability vary. See My Sky app for full VIP terms.
Last night was really good. You're perfect, but I can't commit just yet. If it doesn't work out in 200 days, I'll just send you back. Nothing personal.
You'll fall in love with the award-winning Emma mattress. But don't just take our word for it. Try it for 200 nights. And now, in the big summer sale, get 50% off everything, including our Emma Original mattress. Go to emma-sleep.ie today and use the code BIGSUMMER for a 5% discount on top. Emma Original Mattress 200-night trial, T's and C's apply. Offer ends 22nd of August.
Shine a light in aid of Focus Ireland and proudly supported by Bord Gáis Energy, taking place on Friday, October 14th. People all over Ireland will be sleeping out for one night to raise vital funds for homelessness. But we're asking business leaders and the business community to take part. Join me, Bobby Kerr, at one of our sleep out locations or host your own Shine a Light night in your business or workplace. To find out more, visit shinealight.focusireland.ie. Proudly supported by Bord Gáis Energy.
If you're aged 60 to 64, it's time to boost your protection from COVID-19. Your protection from previous vaccines or from COVID-19 infection decreases over time. Your next vaccine will help protect you from serious illness in the months ahead. Book an appointment at a HSE vaccination centre on hse.ie. Call our team in HSE Live on 1800 700 700 or contact a participating GP or pharmacy from the HSE. For us all.
Is your Skoda a little older? Pre-loved, perhaps? What adventures, I wonder, did it have in the past? Another family, another life, bright city lights, or a quiet country existence seeing Ireland's best sights? We don't really need your car's story. With a Skoda service, you get a complete vehicle health check, genuine Skoda parts, and free roadside assistance for 12 months. Book your service today at skodaservice.ie.
The Home Show.
On the Home Show podcast this week, we'll be getting some tips from a sleep expert on how to get a good night's rest during the heatwave. We'll be talking about the beautiful architectural history of University College Cork, the dangers of under-insuring your home, and former Home of the Year winner Jennifer Sheehan will be talking about seaside decor.
The Home Show with Sinead Ryan.
Listen to the podcast now at newstalk.com and on the Newstalk app.
On 106 to 108 FM. On the Newstalk app, powered by Go Loud and smart speakers. This is Newstalk.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Bernadette Jemison. A man is due to appear in court this afternoon, charged in connection with the fatal assault of a 26-year-old woman in Athboy, County Meath on Friday. The man, aged in his 30s, was questioned at Ashbourne Garda Station after he presented himself to Garda yesterday morning. He will appear before Trim District Court shortly. A man in his 40s has died after being assaulted in Athlone. The incident occurred in the early hours of this morning on Church Street. Aoife Kearns reports.
The man was discovered with serious injuries just after 2:30 a.m. in the Church Street area of Athlone. He was taken to Portiuncula Hospital, Ballinasloe, where he was later pronounced dead. The scene has been sealed off for a technical examination and a post-mortem exam will take place at a later date. An incident room has been set up at Athlone Garda Station and Gardaí are appealing for any witnesses to come forward.
A status yellow thunderstorm warning has been issued for the entire country from tomorrow. It comes as a heatwave has officially been declared after temperatures exceeded 25 degrees for the 5th day in a row. The status yellow hot weather warning is in place until Monday morning. However, there's a warning that thunderstorm activity, along with hail and heavy showers, may lead to spot flooding and hazardous driving conditions. Today, these people in Galway are enjoying the sun in Salt Hill.
It's good to go down to Salt Hill. It's gorgeous down there in the sun. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
so it's
really
always
good.
a good spot to go to.
And it's so nice to be able to sit out in the sun and have something to eat, and it's not raining on you or windy. It's great.
And ever since COVID, everyone's got like a great outdoor seating set up, so there's so many gorgeous spots to go, and like it's so pretty to be like able to actually enjoy the sun for once in Ireland.
Salman Rushdie is on a ventilator and unable to speak after being stabbed on stage in the US. The 75-year-old author may lose one eye after the attack at an event in New York State. Police detained a 24-year-old suspect from New Jersey. It's 4:02.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Stuck for a present? Give a Ryanair gift card and they love you forever.
Hot and sunny with highest temperatures 26 to 31 degrees, possibly a degree higher in parts of Leinster and Munster. A few showers may occur, some of these possibly heavy and thundery, particularly around the Midlands, and some hail possible also. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Brentford versus Man United on Saturday Night Football. Live, only on Sky Sports.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5. This is Football Saturday. Remember, football and Off the Ball brought to you by Sky. Get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. You can text us 53106. Listen on News Talk, streaming the conversation as well. You can watch us if you're out and about on the digital and social channels for Periscope and Twitter at Off the Ball, YouTube, Facebook and on the OTB Sports app. Or if you're at home, search OTB Sports in your app store to download it if you haven't already. Delighted to be joined by David Meyler on the line, the former Republic of Ireland international midfielder, football correspondent of the Irish Independent, Dan McDonnell, in studio with us, as is the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward. 53106. John, you're sitting there quietly and keeping your powder dry like most of us Spurs fans, hoping we finally live up to expectations, says Adrian in Laois. Well, Adrian, really excited about tomorrow. All the signings are over 6 foot. I think there's going to be a bit of a nastiness to Spurs in the way that's an acceptable term for sports competition. And like Eric Dyer, I think, has been really improved under Conte. Romero is a top-class centre-back, got a bit of an edge to him. Perisic, you can see him bombing down that left wing. Basuma's an addition to the midfield in terms of possession of the ball. And then you have 4 forward players that are exceptional in Son, Kane, who scored 40 goals between them the last 2 seasons in kind of reverse order last season. Kulusevski, who is a battering ram, an incredible player if he stays fit, a young lad as well. And then Richarlison, who will be on his best behaviour before the World Cup. So it's a very exciting time.
Missing a point as well, Judy. They play in a stadium where it is actually a real benefit to them. It's a really, really loud stadium. Yeah. It's a great place to play under as a home player, and it'll probably be worth a few points to them. You look at a place like Old Trafford, is that worth anything to Man United anymore? The Etihad, not the most atmospheric place, but you've been to Spurs Stadium, and it's genuinely an experience by all accounts. It's a 22nd century stadium, lads. The acoustics are off the scale. They are and there's a kind of they built the stand, the south stand, a bit like the Cop, like on a slant, is a bit like a wall. Everybody stands. You really feel you really feel a sense of, and that's what Conte's tried to instill in Paratici, a kind of a power that they've had. Like they've got the logo on the bus now, and they got the bus to the stadium and that kind of thing. They don't travel individually now, so. Good times ahead. I don't know how. I
logo on the bus is where it all changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, lads.
I just think the logo on the bus is the point where I'm like, this sounds like an athletic feature and what happened behind the scenes.
pretty
the logo
much.
Went on the bus, and that's where it all changed.
It's not that deep, lads.
It isn't. But he's brought this I was just reading about the stories about South Korea when they went over there, and Paris is actually one of the players who did so well when they were just ran into the ground, and they've got a set piece guy they brought in, Conte, just for set pieces alone. So look, every club probably has this kind of stuff, but as I said, I'm reading 100 articles a week on it. So
yes, this is how it works now. Like the algorithm churns out, articles about a particular club. It's like you won't believe of. This is like the Frank Lampard WhatsApp group that he had at Chelsea. He set up a WhatsApp group for the coaches. It was like, well, this is something else now. This is another level. But I suppose the thing about the game tomorrow, Chelsea's home form hasn't been that good at all over the last year. Albeit I think Spurs is one of the exceptions to that. You mentioned the good record against them, and Spurs don't have a good record against them, but Chelsea to me are one where it's very hard to know what way their season might pan out, and for whatever reason, hasn't been an especially intimidating place to go. So it's sort of like their pre-season business, their transfer business has been done pretty late. It's still sort of an evolving piece, really. It's probably not the worst time to catch them.
No, it is a good time to catch them. Havertz, I really think, is a fantastic player, but he only scored 8 goals last season. He's an X-factor player, but who's going to score them the 15 to 20 goals, as David was saying? Who's the number 9? Sterling, I love Sterling as well, but yeah, knitting them all together this soon in the season, it's going to take a while, I think, for Tuchel to do that. And every time I pick up a newspaper or read an internet article, Chelsea are being associated with De Jong or Aubameyang or or somebody else, or Fofana or whoever. So yeah, I think Tuchel's a world-class manager. I think they'll be grand. I think, like, obviously Bailey is splashing the cash, so, but maybe tomorrow might be a good time, as you say. Spurs have only won there once since 1990, which is a horrific record. 53106. What about Brendan Rodgers' position at Leicester? Would he look to get away, or has he left it too late, says Paul in Dublin? David?
I do fear for Brendan. Like, there's talks, obviously, you know, of Maddison and Newcastle, like Fofana to Chelsea. Like, Tielemans obviously wants to go because he wants to play regular Champions League football. Like, Kasper Schmeichel leaving. Like, the spine of that team is just being ripped out constantly, and they don't seem to be signing players that you think, like, would give you a little bit of excitement. Like, JD, even listening to you speak about your beloved Spurs there, I've not seen you that excited. Like, you know, that there's such a feel-good factor.
Yeah, there's such a
there's such a feel-good factor.
That's when Dom comes out.
Do you know what I mean?
There's going to be a guy screaming in Dublin in 6 hours' time, and there's a logo on the bus, would you believe, as well?
Not that logo on the bus story again.
Here we go. Here we go.
Like this,
greatest logo since Romania 1990.
There's a feel-good factor, which is really interesting. Like, how you're excited about Spurs. Like, even it's hard to believe that you said they've only won there once since 1990, which is remarkable. I wouldn't have, if you'd asked me to guess the last time, I'd have said in the last few seasons, maybe under Pochettino or something. But anyway, but Leicester, it's almost becoming flat and stale. Like, if their players are constantly being linked away, like, you know, you're 2-0 down against Arsenal now, you're thinking, like, do I really want this? And, you know, there's still 3 weeks left in the transfer window. Players will look to get out. You know, Chelsea, obviously with Thiago Silva, he was limping around last week. They might push hard for Fofana. He's an exciting young player. Maddison, then, like I said, his head could be turned. And all of a sudden, Brendan could lose a good 3-4 players. And even if they were to try and keep them, then you're going to have to offer them new deals to keep them happy. Then you're obviously hiring your wage budget, and these players then, like, Leicester pay well anyway by all accounts, so they're going to be on astronomical money. It's like, is it sustainable for them? I don't know. But then it's like, where does Brendan go from here? Obviously he's had the stint at, you know, Liverpool. You know, they're a club I look at now where I just don't know. They're kind of in no man's land, and they're kind of fading, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were lower half of mid-table, you know, outside that 10 mark, because, you know, the players, if they look, you've a couple of weeks left, they could recruit well, they could bring in some outside players, but you would worry for them.
Yeah, they really threw it away against Brentford last week. I was watching that highlights of that game. Also, Leeds have scored away to Southampton with Rodrigo on the mark at St Mary's. That's an interesting scoreline. Leeds on the cusp of possibly winning 2 in a row. Another one on 53106 in our text service here for a cost of 30 cents. Hey guys, great show today, thank you. Just wondering where you think Frankie de Jong will end up, and what do you think of Barcelona's behaviour towards him, says John in Dublin. It's a very strange one, because he doesn't seem like he wants to go to Man United, David.
No. I'll start. I think Barcelona's handling of the situation has been dreadful. Certainly that stuff that's been come out there recently, that they're looking to sue him over something with the contract. I've not done too much research on it, but you know, it almost seems to me as if they're trying to push him out, and he doesn't want to go. Like, he's playing for Barcelona. There could be a part of him, look, I really want to be here. I really want to play. That's why he might have been dragging his feet with Manchester United. There's talks of him being owed, I don't know, the ballpark is meant to be 15 million in wages. I don't know exactly. But then, like, you see the abuse he's receiving off fans as he's driving into training. I kind of think that's unacceptable, considering he's not really done anything. Martin Braithwaite had something similar.
Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, that was awful, considering, like, what, just because he's on a few quid and they want to move him on. Like, playing for Barcelona for a lot of people is the dream. Why would you want to leave? They want to obviously fight and stay there. But, like, where does de Jong end up? I don't know. I don't think he'll go United. I think that saga's gone on far too long. I don't think he has any ambitions to go there. I thought maybe with Erik ten Hag taking over that there might have been that chemistry, that spark that could have made him come, but that's clearly not coming, because he obviously doesn't fancy United. Chelsea are another one that's been linked with. Would he go to Chelsea? Where does he fit in? They've got, obviously Jorginho is a similar type player. Kovacic is another similar type player. Would he come in and move one of them on? I don't know. Would they look for squad depth? But then you're paying, 50, 60 million for a player to just be sitting on the bench who's on a lot of money. Then do they play him? They've got one more of the others on the bench. I don't know. It's an interesting one. Obviously, I think he'd be very good for Manchester United. I'm not sure what the problem there is, because obviously he knows Ten Hag, so who knows? Who knows where he'll end up? I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed.
Shocking stuff this weekend at Man United, isn't it? Arnautovic is not going to happen now. Would be linked with Arnautovic. Rabiot might sign. You got the John Murphy going over to just like to speak to Rabiot. Like the whole thing is just, to me, it's just crumbling. I can't believe Man United are in this position they're in. Well, obviously, if you look at the last 10 years, you can believe it. But for a club of such a global stature to be in this position, with the season already underway and losing the first game and going to Brentford this evening.
Funny enough, Rabiot, like if he weren't, Rabiot in terms of his kind of personality off the pitch, and anyone who's been represented by a complex mother in his football dealings obviously comes with a bit of a squeakle, and he comes with the health warning. Strangely enough, in terms of his ability, I think he'd be a great boost to Man United in terms of his playing ability. But as you mentioned, JD, this is where you're at. And I didn't watch the game against Brighton, but by all accounts, it was very apparent early on Brighton are a better team than Man United at the moment. That's where we're at.
Well, it's more like United finished second only a couple of seasons ago. Like Brighton are not a team that are going to finish second, and it's just the complete, like Eriksen as a false nine, you Diego Dalot like strolling back for Brighton's second goal. It's just like the whole thing. It just seems like the dressing room is still, not in a good place, David. When I just look at Erik Ten Hag, and you're the expert here, I'm not, but he just looks like to me like a guy who's a coach, who is probably a very, very good coach, who's been brought in to, fix a lot of the way that they play and press more. And Ronaldo obviously is not suited to that game. But it seems like he's got a lot on his plate with transfers. A lot of the players United are being linked with, he has got a past association with. And it just seems that above him, there doesn't seem to be the infrastructure to support him.
No, there doesn't. And the big thing with managers nowadays, there's always that little thing of, is he a manager, is he a head coach? Certainly with the manager, you've got to manage expectations upwards. And I think that's where United probably have missed the boat, kind of appointing a director of football who can manage the board and work. Like there was big talks of Van der Sar coming. I don't know what happened there. Obviously that's Manchester United's business, but I just look at Manchester United, and there's far too many players that are not good enough to play for Manchester United. They're on far too much money. They're tied down to long-term contracts. And they have no real desire to move on. I think they're at a club that is fallen off the face of the earth, which is remarkable to say, because Manchester United is still, to me, in my mind, is still one of the biggest clubs in the world and still has a massive draw and appeal. Like people listening are well aware, I'm a Liverpool fan. To go and play for Manchester United in front of 80,000 people week in, week out, be loved and cherished by those fans, like that stuff, you can only dream of. Like you look at, you're speaking of Dalot, he's nowhere near good enough to play for Manchester United. I stand by what I said. I know people will be quick to point out Harry Maguire is my pal, because we did play together and we're good mates, but I think Harry is good enough. I think his confidence is so up and down the past 2 seasons. He's become like an ongoing meme online, where every goal, I'm arguing on Twitter last week, if you look at the first goal, Welbeck, in my opinion, and I've spoke to other coaches about it and they all agree with me, but then again, that is the joys of Twitter. Like Welbeck runs off Martinez, he doesn't track the run, he doesn't speak to Maguire, he's a yard too deep at the start, then steps up. Welbeck's got good pace, gets in behind, then he hesitates to close him down where he should sprint, get his back to goal. But it's kind of basic errors in defending. Like you look at the left back situation, Luke Shaw, like he had, was it the Euros? It was the Euros, wasn't it? There, he was fantastic. He went back to United, and I don't know what's happened to him, because I still think Luke Shaw is a very good, fullback. I think he brings an awful lot to, he can bring an awful lot to that team. Like you're still looking at McTominay and Fred. I do like Scott. I think he's industrious. I think he works really hard. He just needs the simple message of to keep it easy. Don't complicate. I seen him last week trying to do flicks and back heels and that, and I'm saying that's not your game. Fred, I don't know. I really don't. 1 minute he's brilliant. Next minute he can't pass a ball 5 yards. You look at Rashford, I don't know what's happened to him. It looks like he's no confidence. He was a player, I remember, like, I played right back a couple of times against him where he was constantly threatening me in behind, looking to run behind. Now he comes short all the time. He wants the ball to feet. Like dribbling, in my opinion, the hardest skill in football is to beat someone 1v1. And he's lost the confidence to do that. He should be looking, because he's got blistering pace, to look to run in behind, cause problems. I do feel Bruno is probably doing a bit too much. He's trying to carry the entire team and club on his back, where he's trying outrageous pass all the time. I think Eriksen will help an awful lot because he's great guile and vision, and his pass choice is nearly always accurate. You've got the dilemma with Ronaldo, an incredible player. There's no doubting that. Like, I think he gave them a massive lift when he came on the other day. I think Erik ten Hag has to probably rethink his approach. Of course, I've seen him speak about where he wants to press, but you can't do that with Cristiano. But what Cristiano will get you is 20 to 25 goals a season. So you have to find a way to slightly adjust your style to get him in there. Another one, Jadon Sancho, 70 plus million. I think he had 8 goals, 5 assists, something like that last season. I want more from him. He looks like he's not really too fussed. Probably picking up an absolute fortune, and his performance hasn't been good enough. There's a whole host of problems, and there are probably 10 names have gone through, but I could keep going. Like De Gea, don't know what the story with him. 1 minute he was captain United, and then all of a sudden he spat his dummy out and he was on the way out, and then he comes back and he puts in incredible performances. He's hot and cold. It's like the whole thing is a complete mess. And now they've there's been a lot of talk of Sir Alex rejoining. Is that a good thing? I don't know. Is that a bad thing? Maybe. Do they need to move away from that? Because he will still have a huge say, a huge pull. Only time will tell. Will that be a good reappointment if he's there? But they just it's going to be a tough few years for United fans. They need to clear out a lot of deadwood, and they need to sign the right players. I was thinking if I was involved in the Manchester United recruitment, what player would I look at to bring in? The first name that actually came to mind was like a Jared Bowen.
Would not be a Declan Rice, no?
Well, of course you'd aim for the 6, but I'm also looking at realistic targets. Will Declan go to United? I think Declan is probably has one eye on Chelsea, another on Liverpool, and of course City will always have that interest in him. I think he'll see himself going to bigger and better things than Manchester United at the moment. Of course, I completely agree with you. They're crying out for number 6. Rabiot, I wouldn't touch him. Okay, look, he's an incredible player, but it's just so much nonsense with him off the pitch. I don't think you need him. When you need players to roll their sleeves up and fight hard, I don't think Rabiot's one of them types. I think you'd be signing the wrong player. We had it a few years ago at Hull when we signed Ben Arthur. Doubting his ability.
We had that. You told a story about it.
Yeah. There's one. Then you're talking about Arnautovic to United.
Yeah.
Give me a break. This is Manchester United we're talking about. You need to be signing. There was that all laughing thing about Roy when he said sign Harry Kane, and people kind of laughed at him. But it's still Manchester United. There still is a huge draw, and I stand by what I said before. A lot of players would still want to go and play for Manchester United, and they have to, as a club, kind of stick their chest out and pay the money for these top quality players that are good. Not only the good players, but the good people, and they'll help the team and they'll help the club and they'll lift the fan base. Because at the moment, if you're a Manchester United fan, you're looking at your club being linked to Arnautovic and Rabiot, then not for me.
I just do wonder though, David would definitely know better than me in terms of the draw of Manchester United, but so this is the 10th season since they won the league under Ferguson, so this is the post-Ferguson era, and this is the 10th season. In the other 9 seasons, JD, the majority of them, they didn't even finish in the Champions League spots, and they were essentially an irrelevance in the title race despite finishing second a couple of times in all those years. So the narrative of Manchester United for the last decade is that they're a team that struggled to get into the Champions League, are basically an irrelevance in the title race now, and that's what they are. They're not the team that I hated as a young kid supporting Liverpool under Alex Ferguson, who basically won every league, and they're not the team that can attract the best players anymore, because that
can change. Because it's Man United, like Liverpool in the 90s, they're not in exactly the same position.
Yeah, but it'll take a lot of time, and this thing, because they're Man United, I don't know, man. It's a dysfunctional club under the Glazers. I think we can say that with a reasonable degree of certainty. And the problems are so deep now that it almost feels like a waste of time just talking about them every week, because we're literally bleeding our life away talking about a team that may or may not get into the Europa League next season. Every year it's like Man United this, Man United that, as like an ode to the people I grew up with. Well, the reality is Man United are an irrelevance now, apart from if you want to debate who may or may not get into the Europa League group stages. That's it.
It's more of a bigger discussion about
and mismanagement.
No, but it's one of the biggest clubs in the world that won like 13 Premier League titles under Ferguson. Like they won the Champions League twice, and the fall from grace has been, and it's almost become comical. And even talking about it is quite depressing, to be honest.
It is.
And if you're a Man United fan, you must be pretty deflated about the whole bloody thing. But it's just become this entertainment brand that is going through this constant weekly crisis, and it's just hard to believe how it could get so bad. And like I think any top player would go to Man United if they got Conte in, which they should have, and not getting Conte in is like once again bad management from an executive level. But if they got Conte in, because they've spent over £1 billion, and if they were going to spend the money, you might be able to attract better players that will go, I'll play for Conte. Harry Kane wanted to leave Spurs just over a year ago. Now they're talking about him signing a new contract, and they still haven't won any trophies.
Is there a mutiny coming from the fans in terms of the ownership and what?
Well, it's already happened. Didn't it happen a few months ago?
It has, but like, has it had a major impact? Like, will there be mass protests at games? I think
it probably is going that way.
It probably is. I mean, Liverpool had to suffer a long, long time in those early 90s, and I'm looking at David James on the TV today. He's 52 now. I remember David James, a young keeper, and Liverpool had to come through those years where they were basically totally knocked off their perch by Fergie. It took them a long, long time. It's not going to be an easy fix for Manchester United, and I'm genuinely not sure what draw Manchester United is to the likes of, say, Declan Rice now. Where would Declan Rice willy-nilly go to Manchester United? And
I don't think...
it seems mad to think that, but I don't know.
As David said, he's probably, the Chelsea...
He's better
thing,
than that.
The Chelsea thing... I just have this feeling he might end up there, because there's something about his story coming full circle from being released by Chelsea as a kid, and some of the influences in his life you'd imagine would be probably pushing him that way. But just I know you're friends with him, David, so not to sort of go into it too much, but I'm even looking at the experience that Harry Maguire is having at Manchester United, like booed at a pre-season tour game down in Australia or something as part of this global brand. And I don't know, I kind of wonder, other players are probably looking at players at Manchester United becoming these memes, as you say, or just sort of pilloried in a particular way. And I don't know, it sort of just seems maybe another attractive experience for them. They might think that at other clubs you might be, there might be a little bit more protection from some of this sort of scrutiny that at Manchester United you can't escape. Or it seems to be that the players are at the forefront now of the, I don't know, they're getting sort of whipped from all sides.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. And like, you look at Manchester City with the size of the squad they had. If a player is under a bit of stick or is not performing well, Pep can just rotate them in and rotate them out. Like, he just makes substitutes in games, or he's, we call it Pep roulette, where like you don't know what players are going to play. And the problem with Manchester United is, like, you kind of more or less can pick your 9 or 10, even if they're not performing week in, week out, because they don't have the depth, they don't have the quality. Like, I do feel for Harry, because some of his performances haven't been as bad as they've been made out. But one error, like, unfortunately for him, has cost him goals at times, and it will be picked up more. But you look at that team, and that is the big problem I have with, certainly with Manchester United, is the lack of leadership. Certainly you look around the change room, kind of like, have you got those I'll use the word ego, but not in a bad way, but those leadership qualities that can, pick a team up and drive it on. Obviously, there was massive calls towards the back end of the season. The captaincy should have been taken off with Maguire and it should have been given to Ronaldo. Is Ronaldo the right type of character to be captain? Look, he's one of the best players that's ever played the game. He's a very selfish individual. I've no problem with that. That's why he scored 800 plus goals in his career. But is he the right type? Like, obviously, there was all talks when he took over and people were admiring the way he works before training, after training, how he eats, his diet, everything. He mightn't be a great captain. I don't know. I've not been in and around him to know. Like, certainly with Portugal, yes, he's captain, but you're also playing with a group of your countrymen who are all there for one objective, to represent your country. It's quite easy to follow his lead that way because you only meet up, 4 or 5 times a season. It is a massive thing. I use Liverpool. Like, you look at their team, Alisson, good guy. Then you've got Robertson, captain of Scotland, Van Dijk, captain of the Netherlands. You've got Milner, vice captain, who I say if you spoke to anyone in football wouldn't say he's a bad person. You've got Henderson, who's obviously captain of Liverpool, Salah's captain of Egypt. They've got a whole host of captains and good quality leaders in that change room. That's the big thing I look at United. Who's going to drag them when it's down? Like, they're crying out, like as we touched on, JD touched on there, a 6. They're crying out for a Roy Keane. That's what they're, that type of player and that type of leader to inspire the players that will take no nonsense. Because some of the stuff those Manchester United players get away with is mind-boggling. They think you're blessed to be paid week in, week out to play football as a career, but to turn in some of those performances and to give off that illusion that you don't really care. Like, that's the frustrating thing I look at when I look at Manchester United, because you are very privileged. You need to, knuckle down and put a shift in.
53106 Sean says, hi lads, the problem with United is they keep picking terrible managers. Klopp, Conte, Pep, Tuchel would sort them out in 6 weeks.
They wouldn't, though. It's not as simple as that, because the dressing room is kind of half toxic, and there's so many players short, and it's not complex in terms of, it's not straightforward in terms of the ownership. So no, like, Jesus himself couldn't go in there, not the player, but Jesus himself couldn't go in there and turn it around overnight. It's not a water and wine story. It's not. It's a club that, like, it's going to take a long time.
Actually, on reflection.
Yeah. Jesus, probably turn it down as well.
Well, I think, to me, it's so hot now, we're turning the wine into water this evening, to be honest. But 53106. Remember, lads, that Liverpool ended up at the steps of the High Court, saved at the 11th hour from oblivion. That's how bad it can get for Man United. I'm a Liverpool fan, but it really could get much worse than it gets better for United.
JD, can I make a point there, right? Like, Johnny, you touched on Conte, right? And JD, you're a Spurs fan. You'll be closer on the pulse with it more than I will. The big thing Spurs fans all wanted was Conte to be backed. And Conte has this thing where I have full control of everything. That's his big thing, and that's always been Conte's thing. If he'd gone into United and was given full control of everything, he'd have tidied that mess up. I really do, because he sets standards, and you can see that there. There was talks of Ten Hag with his rules and his discipline and what he wanted. But, like, the great point is Harry Kane wanted out. They brought in a world-class manager, and he's gone, here, pal, you're going nowhere, and we're going to do things my way, and you're going to benefit. You're going to benefit from it. I think if he'd gone into United, I think there was a big thing of Neville saying it wasn't the right fit. But who is the right fit for Manchester United? And I think a manager like Conte would have gone in and sorted that entire mess out. I really do.
Leeds have scored again. Second goal at Southampton, which has come from the Rodrigo scored the first one, and the second one has come from Rodrigo. So 2 goals for him today. And Arsenal now 3-1 up against Leicester. So Leicester put one back, a Saliba own goal, but the third goal has come from Granit Xhaka, has scored for Arsenal. So they're set for their second win in a row. It's Brighton 0, Newcastle 0, Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 0, and Wolves 0, Fulham 0 in the Championship. It ended earlier on. Cardiff 1, Birmingham 0. Latest scores: Blackpool 0, Swansea 0. It is 1-1 between Huddersfield and Stoke. Hull 2, Norwich 0, Luton 0, Preston 1. Good stuff for Hull. Millwall 2, Coventry 2, Rotherham 4, Reading 0, Sunderland 2, QPR 0, Wigan 1, Bristol City 1. And in Scotland, Rangers are leading against St Johnstone by 2-0 now. Aberdeen 2, Motherwell 3, an exciting game at Pittodrie. Livingston 1, Hibernian 1, and St Mirren 1, Ross County 0. And you're right, David, like Antonio Conte said to Reguilon, Lo Celso, Ndombele, who's the record Spurs signing, and Harry Winks, you're not coming on the tour of South Korea, you're out of the club. Now, it's harsh for them as individuals and as humans, but you're gone, and that's the way it is. And
it's funny, we might have a chat at the end about the League of Ireland, but Damien Duff is, we might tease it going into
the break, yeah.
Yeah, if you kind of tell a player something that you're getting rid of, just might come back to bite you in the ass, and it did for him last night.
Yeah, Ryan Brennan, was it?
It's quite a funny story, actually. Like the implication being, and I obviously wasn't part of the discussion, but the implication being that Ryan Brennan said he was called out by somebody who played at a high level as to, I think the implication was that his physique wasn't good enough. So he celebrated in a particular manner after getting an absolute worldly of a goal last night. It was a real goal that you'd rarely see in terms of the technique of hitting the ball into the ground from like 20 yards almost. But Damien Duff didn't enjoy it, I think.
OK, well, Bernard Finglas, to bring us to the break, has texted in to say, News Talk, the Lord does not need football. So we're going to be back with a bit of chat with David Meyler, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward after this.
Moncrief.
Well, the moon goes around the Earth in not a perfect circle. It's slightly egg-shaped orbit, and we can be 15% closer at some times than at other times. So when a full moon coincides with the time that we're closest to the moon, it can be 30% brighter, and that's what a supermoon is.
Moncrief.
Brought to you by Avant Money.
Weekdays at 2 p.m. on News Talk.
Things that put people off on a first date. Showing up late and getting your name wrong? Always a great start. Looking at their phone more than you? Hello? Someone who only talks about themselves. Oh, really? God, aren't you great? Look, no one said dating is perfect, but at GoDating.ie, we promise we'll always try and find your perfect match. Because somewhere out there, there's someone for you. And GoDating.ie will help you find them. Yes, even you, socks and sandals guy. Go on, go for it with GoDating.ie.
Hi, Catherine Tracy here. Wouldn't it be great if you could see your finished bathroom before you purchase it? Well, now you can. Versatile Bathrooms have recently opened a 4D design theatre in store with the very latest virtual reality technology, which allows you to step inside your dream bathroom. We also have a dedicated wellness area in store displaying the latest in sauna and steam rooms. For further information, visit our website versatile.ie. Versatile Bathrooms and Tiles, Navan. Enrich your space.
Your son, who smiles every time he gets a message from a certain someone. The twins, who think your son has lost his mind. Their granny, who knows that if hearts get broken, she's only ever a call away. Whatever your clan are up to, connect them with Vodafone Red Family. Add family members young and old for just €5 a month. Go online or in-store to find out more. Vodafone. Together we can.
Subject to eligibility, 12-month contract and terms. See vodafone.ie/terms.
This summer, we're raising the bar at the Guinness Storehouse and taking our famous gravity bar to new heights. So alongside the breathtaking views of the city and an amazing pint, you'll enjoy Ireland's highest garden, a specially curated botanical installation, as well as cracking live DJ sets 7 days a week. Make great memories and experience the height of summer by booking at guinnessstorehouse.com. Be drink aware. Visit drinkaware.ie.
OnPOS MoneyMate is a current account that gives kids the power. With school coming back, what money power do kids want? To be a super saver with savings jars? Or to wow their school friends with their very own debit card? Oh, cool.
Hold on. Can I have the power to keep an eye on all of this?
Yeah, good idea. Find out more about the current account for kids. Search OnPOS MoneyMate or download the OnPOS Money app. The OnPOS MoneyMate debit MasterCard is issued by OnPOS. MasterCard is a registered trademark. T's and C's apply. See onpos.com/moneymate. Available for children aged 7 to 15 and a half years. Transaction fees apply. After 3 months, a monthly fee applies. OnPOS is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
Beacon South Quarter, Ireland's premier interiors destination. For the widest choice of furniture for every room in your home from our interior stores, including Beau Concept, Caligaris, Cube Kitchens, Roche Boubois and Soul Lifestyle. Located beside exit 13 off the M50, visit us today. With our amazing range, you won't leave empty-handed. It's what's on the inside that counts.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, don't miss Chelsea versus Spurs on Super Sunday, live only on Sky Sports.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you to 5 on Football Saturday with Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent and Johnny Ward, the broadcaster and journalist in studio, and David Meyler, the former Republic of Ireland international, on the line. Now, ahead of our Cadbury FC Roadshow next Wednesday, August 17th, we're going to be deciding the top 5 most influential Irish players in both the men's and women's game. A reminder, tickets for the show in Vicar Street are on sale now. Ticket proceeds will go towards supporting Irish women's grassroots football. See otbsports.com/events for T's and C's and more. See you on the night. So 53106 for any text messages you have. Arsenal 4, Leicester 2 now. So it was 2-0 at the break, and James Maddison pulled one back for Leicester, but Gabriel Martinelli has made it 4-2 for Arsenal. The points look safe at the Emirates. Aston Villa 2, Everton 1 earlier on. Brighton 0, Newcastle 0 is the latest score. 79 minutes on the watch at the Amex. Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 0. Southampton 1, Leeds 2, so the Saints pulled one back at St Mary's. Rodrigo scoring both goals for Leeds, with Joe Aribo scoring now for Southampton. Wolves 0, Fulham 0 is the latest score. Brentford and Manchester United kick off at 5:30. And in the Championship, latest scores: Blackpool 0, Swansea 0, Huddersfield 1, Stoke 1, Hull 2, Norwich 1, Luton 0, Preston 1, Millwall 2, Coventry 2, Rotherham 4, Reading 0, Sunderland 2, QPR 0, and Wigan 1, Bristol City 1. I
should mention Will Keane has scored the goal for Wigan in that game. So Will Keane, who hasn't done particularly well in his Irish caps, but I did hear he played quite well last week too. So he seems to
set up McLean's goal.
Yeah, he's, I was speaking to someone who saw that game and they were impressed. So seems to have started the Championship season well anyway, and he's not really had a run at that level before, but just needs to bring that to Ireland. The one thing I wanted to mention as well, I suppose David's on the line as well, it does seem Robbie Brady's back enjoying his football again. He's playing for Preston, having sort of dropped off the map a bit and is sort of a very stop-start couple of years, but he seems to be playing quite well for Preston today, and it would be good, David, like you've played with him, you know him extremely well, if he could just get back playing football again and have a real proper season uninterrupted, and you know, he's still only 30, you know, he's not as if he's done for here.
Yeah, that's the big thing for Robbie. I actually, when was it, the start of the summer, I met him in the airport. I was over coaching in Ireland and Robbie was over visiting family or whatever, and we had a good chat, and I'm just desperate for him to, you know, have a season where he's injury free. There's no doubting Robbie's ability, his set piece delivery, everything. You look at the years before the Euros, certainly the Euros tournament, Robbie was exceptional for Ireland, and he's just been very unfortunate with injuries, very stop-start. He just couldn't get himself going at Burnley, even then at Bournemouth. He wasn't, you know, fully right, but you're just kind of hoping now. Obviously, he's based up in the Manchester area, Preston's not too far, so they'll be nicely settled there. And Preston has always had this, you know, I've always heard from the outside, it's got a real good, you know, family feel in the club, certainly with the players. I'm just hoping he stays injury free and, you know, plays a lot of games, because that will only be good for Robbie.
4-0 now to Man City against Bournemouth. Bernardo Silva, it seems, has got it.
Yeah, it's a messy one. I thought there might be a VAR for maybe a potential offside, but possibly not. More of an own goal, I think, actually.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was more of an own goal.
And you were talking about fantasy football in the little...
Yeah. Just let you know, Alexander Mitrovic has missed a penalty, by the way, for Fulham against Wolves. Goalless there.
God, he could have been up to 2 goals or 3 goals already, which would be mad.
Yeah. Go on, David, sorry. Fantasy football, yeah. We were just kind of maybe thinking about it as a topic, because it is... I don't play it myself. I don't know about you, Dan and Johnny, but it is so popular. David, are you somebody that is invested in this at all? Oh, David's gone. Probably to play fantasy football.
he's checking his team scores.
Yeah, no, we'll
I used to play it. I used to do it. I actually just
Robbie Earl was a good call back in the day.
Oh no, like back in the day, I've done it all the time. Just personally myself in recent seasons, I found that I'd keep missing these deadlines for game weeks and just get frustrated and just be quite competitive. So I just think
what's the Robbie Earl?
Robbie Earl was one of these.
When he was at Wimbledon, he was like underrated.
Yeah,
scored loads
he was
of
probably
goals.
like 1.1 million or something in the day.
They used to do it in the paper, like that was the thing in the
1,
start.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Where fantasy football started.
Dan is too humble to mention this, but he actually ran a fantasy football competition in the League of Ireland way before it was popular.
God,
and we used to have disputes over whether a player was a defender or a midfielder, and practically fell out over it, I think. But I do remember
it's a different life.
I do remember a friend of mine
falling out of all these years later.
Yeah, I think this is probably about 15 years ago. I remember I was the exact same as Dan. I'd entered fantasy football, but because my life was utterly chaotic, I'd keep forgetting to update at the weekend. And then when my friend told me how he'd gone into an internet cafe whilst on holiday somewhere in Europe to change his fantasy football team, I was like, well, I'm never going to be at that level, so I just gave up.
53106, you've written off Eric Ten Hag after one game. Well done, lads. Absolute waffle, says Andrew. I don't think we did, to be honest, Andrew. I just think we just said, look, he's got a lot
written off Andrew after that message in anyway. No, I think
we appreciate every message.
We do.
Even the ones that are critical.
So some interesting ones coming in. Say, no, I think in fairness, Andrew, nobody's writing him off. It's the fact that I think he's in an extremely tough job, and the artillery isn't there at the moment with the players. So if they want to back Ten Hag, I think it's going to take some time.
Yeah, Greta was in touch on 53106 saying, Johnny, that you're very dapper on the TV and you're glad to see you had no beard, because Greta doesn't like beards anyway. So
I was wondering where she'd gone with all the climate change chat, but it's good to see she's still around.
Well, I've no idea what that's about. So anyway, we'll move swiftly on. David Meyler, fantasy football, are you a disciple of this?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm big in it, JD. I'm big in it. All the lads now will be watching, but all my buddies back home, who I grew up with and all that, we play. And there's a famous takeaway in Cork, KC's. Whoever comes last must buy everyone KC's. We play €50 a man. There's 14 of us. The winner gets $675, second gets $375, third gets their money back. We have a WhatsApp group. It's like a few years ago I bought a little trophy. It's serious stuff, lads. Serious stuff. We love it. Like I'm looking at the telly there when I cut off. It was probably because I was going to swear because I saw Haaland had gone off. I've got him captain in my fantasy team.
Yeah.
But it brings a different buzz to it. The football. Like I was never really involved in it when I played. We did have a league which was, which used to be just the players only, but then we used to have rules that you couldn't have any player in your team if you were playing against that team. Because then, there would always be those question marks. Are you leaving players score there because you've got them captain of your fantasy or something? But it's serious. We love it. I think it's brilliant. Everyone I know plays it, and we've great crack. Like I heard there was a great one. A group of lads in Cork. I don't know who they are. It was just one of the lads in our group knows them. But their punishment, whoever comes last, must get on a bus from Cork to Galway. Johnny, you might be able to tell me, but there's a kind of a famous area or statue or something. He must take a photo there, post into the WhatsApp group and get the bus home if you come last.
Oh yeah, the little guy near a square. I forget his name actually, but yeah, I
not you, Johnny, is it?
No. Do you know one of my memories is? Do you remember in 94-95, Man United beat Ipswich 9-0?
Yeah. Andy Cole.
So it was a real issue for me to have a Man United player on my team because I despised them. But what would it been like? All's fair in love and war. I had Andrej Kanchelskis on my team. And I was like, okay, well, at least, like, Man United won 9-0. This is grim, but at least Kanchelskis, he didn't even get an assist. I was like, what? Seriously? Like, I think I slowly lost the will to do fantasy football after that. There's probably scope for a League of Ireland one, Dan, is there, nowadays?
Yeah, listen.
Bung a few quid out of it? As in, make a few quid out of it, like.
Listen,
franchises.
Your entrepreneurial streak just instantly kicks in there, Johnny. That's all you're thinking.
I've often thought I
did think about getting back into it this year
in the Premier League,
just to be honest, to educate yourself about some of the players at some of the teams. Because like last year, you'd be looking at sort of Watford. It's like I'm not even sure. I don't know.
The way to do that without is lineups. Lineups is the way to do that.
Yeah,
you're a line-out student, Jetty.
Yeah, I do lineups probably 5 hours a week. It takes me to do the lineups. I do them on Mondays. But you really get a good sense
just
of
to get a sense, because there's so much comings and goings, but particularly with some of the clubs like Watford when they're there, or even Fulham, like there's just so many ins and outs, so you're trying to remember where players are sometimes, and like that is like Maybe the fantasy football, I find when you're doing it and following it, you're actually really on top of like every player in the league, really, you know, and that's possibly one reason I was half thinking of getting back into it. I assume you can empathise with that, David. You can sort of, you can wax lyrical on maybe players that you wouldn't be paying attention to otherwise, maybe.
But you look the majority of people have Jesus because you know he's going to play the majority of games for Arsenal. Like today, he's got 2 goals, 2 assists. He'll get a little bonus, 3 points. Like you're looking kind of going, oh, like Haaland, captain, only has the 1 assist, hasn't scored. You're looking at City at home. Like then you've got like always the big turnout is, do you have Salah captain or do you have Haaland captain? But then Pep roulette because he chops and changes his team. There's times when I've had Mahrez and he wouldn't play games for 2 or 3 weeks, and then you have Foden and he doesn't play, and it's like you do get a real sense of like what's going on of teams. Like you said, you're always looking for that golden nugget of a player who does
Robbie
play
Earl. Do you remember Robbie Earl?
Of course I do.
Remember his TV days?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
I remember Robbie Earl playing for Wimbledon.
He's not born, he's not a millennial, John. Like he's not born in 2000 or something like that, you know. It's just like
do you know what? It's slightly off topic, but just for that, Roy Keane was kind enough to come in to speak to the Ireland 17s for me when we were based in Cork before our preparation games. I just asked him to kind of come in and have a chat, but he was talking to the young kids about players and whatever. And I was looking after like, do these players, like all these kids would have been born in probably 2005-ish, but they hadn't heard of half the players. Somebody asked Roy the question of what player do you like watching the most at the moment, and he says, I'm a big fan of Verratti and I like watching him, and a couple of heads turned like I was there kind of going like, you should love your craft. Like I love, like my wife knows Sundays, like if the football's on, I'm sitting down. Like last weekend I sat down and watched both games. Her family are all Man City supporters, so I don't really mind because she'll watch the City games. I sit down and watch all football. I love it.
Yeah, you've an understanding wife. But I think the Roy Keane thing, I brought that point up before. Most players now, like, or a lot of the young players, they have no recollection of Roy Keane playing. So he's not the player that belonged to that different era that we were in. Do you know what I mean?
But it's funny, Adam O'Reilly, who plays for St. Pat's, who
great chances the other night.
He had great chances in the European game the other night, but he's from Cork, so maybe it's a little bit different. But we were interviewing him earlier this season, and someone pointed out that he's a midfielder from Cork and he's wearing number 16. What's that about? And he sort of made a reference that there was a Keane thing to it. He's like, yeah, he's my favourite player. But then you're sort of looking at him, and he was born in 2001. So, like, you know, Keane retired in 2006. So Adam O'Reilly was like, whatever, 5, 6. But clearly the legend of Keane is such that, like, he saw the clips, the videos, whatever, that it's possible. Like, you'll have people who, like, idolise Platini or, you know, whoever it might be, Maradona. A lot of people would be mad on Maradona, but actually don't ever recall seeing him live themselves. You know?
53106. I'll just read this out. Pork O'Connor, a stat through. We used to head up to Supermax Air Square after nightclubbing in Salt Hill, kiss Pork, then jump in the fountain nearly every Saturday. That's one of the texts on 53106.
Sounds like a normal Galway thing in fairness.
Off the ball, lads, would Roy Keane or could he make a good job of managing Man U? I'd say he'd make a fair job of straightening them out. Any views, says Richie?
I'd like to see him manage somewhere. I don't think he'll be Man United. I'd love to see him back in the League of Ireland. Just like to see him giving it one more go with a good assistant manager. I think that's the key with Roy.
You're going to Ferencváros Rovers on Thursday.
I am, yeah. Like it's a great tie for Shamrock Rovers because they don't have the all or nothing sort of pressure hanging on it. It's not like win or bust in this tie, which often this playoff round, it's like you get into group stage football or you don't, whereas they have it in the back pocket now. So they're in a great position. Like it's a tie against a sort of a proper, you know, decent sized European club who've been at sort of good group stage level, have had a bit of a revival in recent seasons. And I mean, financially there's not a huge difference between the sort of the Europa League and the Europa Conference League, but obviously the Europa League draw, you're in, I think half of the top, like 4 of the 8 top seeds in the Europa League are Manchester United, Arsenal, Roma, Lazio. So there's obviously more prestige in that competition and more scope. But if it doesn't work out for them against Ferencváros, they're in the Conference League groups, which gives them great opportunities maybe to taste some more points and you know get some wins on the board or draws on the board at a very good level. So it's a free shot for them in a way, and I think it'll be a good tie. I think it'll be an enjoyable one.
Just going to break away for the moment to go to Galgorm Castle for the latest from the ISPS Handa World Invitational Women's Golf Tournament. Our reporter up there in County Antrim is Aisling O'Reilly.
Yes, John, we're on the home stretch here at the Galgorm Castle. It's been an exciting day. Conditions are extremely hot with a breeze slightly picking up here in County Antrim. USA's Amanda Doherty takes the lead on 12 under, closely followed by England's Georgia Hall in second position on 11 under, hitting 3 birdies, 2 bogeys and an impressive eagle on the 9th. Sweden's Maja Stark has jumped up to third position on 10 under, hitting an eagle on the 11th hole. Ireland's Leona Maguire is currently on hole 17, sitting in 16th position on 5 under. Not the round 3 performance the Cavan woman would have hoped for. She did start the day positively with birdies on the 1st and 3rd hole. Things took a turn when she bogeyed the 4th and 5th and then double bogeyed the 6th. She picked things back up and birdied the 10th, but again bogeyed the 11th and 14th. I'm sure it's quite a frustrating one for Maguire at the moment as she heads towards the final 2 holes of the day here at the ISPS Handa World Invitational.
Okay, thanks, Aisling. A frustrating night for Pats as well, as your night.
It was a mad game, JD. Like, as I said earlier, it was like you were on holidays. Unbelievable atmosphere. The Pats fans were great. Like CSK Sofia, this legendary club, and they went 1-0 up from a set piece, but they were completely on the rope second half. I mean, they were basically sitting back. Pats had all the pressure. Referee did not have a good night. Romanian referee gave this, I thought it was a bit of a mad decision, gave a handball, and the whole thing completely unravelled for Pats thereafter. But they look at it as an opportunity lost because I think they were enjoying their stint in Europe. Obviously, it would have been a massive step for them to win the next tie and get into the group stages. But this was a good spell for Pats in Europe. Really enjoyable night. It was great to see European football in Dublin to the extent that it is, and great that we'll see it maybe in the Viva Stadium, depending on what Group Rovers end up in due course. But it was a really enjoyable night, but a mad game, and Pats will have massive regrets.
You know, on today's show, we've been giving you the chance to win a pair of tickets to our Cadbury FC Road Show at Vicar Street in Dublin on Wednesday, next August 17th. Michael Owen, Ian Wright, Emma Byrne and Karen Carney are guests on the night for the exclusive off-air event. Tickets available at otbsports.com/events. Earlier on, we asked you the following question. Michael Owen ran from the halfway line for England to score at the 1998 World Cup against which team? Of course, it was Argentina. Congratulations to Andy Byrne in Baldoyle in Dublin, who answered that correctly and wins the pair of tickets for Wednesday night. Have a great night, Andy. So the match is coming to a close in the Premier League. It has finished Aston Villa 2, Everton 1. Latest scores in injury time: Arsenal 4, Leicester 2. It is Brighton 0, Newcastle 0, Man City 4, Bournemouth 0, Southampton 2, Leeds 2. Kyle Walker-Peters has equalised for Southampton, who were 2-0 down. It is Wolves 0, Fulham 0. Brentford and Man United kick off at 5:30. And also we have in the Championship, lots of scores coming in from there as well. Earlier on we saw a result in there which was a win for Cardiff. Just going to go through the teams here for Man United. David De Gea in goal, Maguire, Martinez, Dalot and Shaw. So same back four as last week. Bruno Fernandes, Christian Eriksen and Fred. And Ronaldo does start for Man United with Rashford and Sancho in the forward positions. For Brentford, Raya in goal, Hickey, Henry, Mee and Janssen. Norgard, Jensen and Roslev. Josh De Silva, who scored last week, Ivan Toney and Brian Mbumo. So they're the lineups for the game at 5:30. David Meyler, you're looking forward to Liverpool again, Crystal Palace on Monday. Do you think they'll do it?
Yes, I do, JD. I'd expect them to beat everyone. It's going to be a tough game. Obviously, Palace has always been one of those tough teams to play against, regardless if you're home or away. But look, the 2 performances from the Community Shield to Fulham were chalk and cheese. So I'm expecting a bounce back from Liverpool. I'm expecting high energy, take the game to them. Imagine the pitch will be nicely watered, and the ball will be zipping about. So I'm expecting Liverpool to win comfortably.
All right, David, thanks very much for today.
Cheers, gents.
David Meyler there, a bit of kicking off there at Man City, Bournemouth.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. There was a bad tackle in the first half that Pep, from a Bournemouth player that you were unhappy about, but I'm not sure if that's it's not quite the Pat Sophia brawl of the other night in terms of that level. There's no red cards being flashed out, but yeah, it's a bit of bad blood, all right.
Okay, Man City beating Bournemouth by 4-0. Brighton 0, Newcastle 0, Arsenal, that's a result by the way, Arsenal 4, Leicester 2 in stoppage time, Southampton 2, Leeds 2, Wolves 0, Fulham 0. Dan and Johnny, thanks so much for this afternoon. Great chat. Appreciate you being in as always. Cardiff 1, Birmingham 0 was a result from the Championship. Game was finished Rotherham 4, Reading 0 and Sunderland 2, QPR 2. Wigan 1, Bristol City 1 is the latest score. Blackpool 0, Swansea 1, a latest. All these scores are latest as well. Huddersfield 3, Stoke 1, Hull 2, Norwich 1 and Luton 0, Preston 1 and Millwall 3, Coventry 2. And in Scotland, in the Premiership, Rangers beat St Johnstone 4-0. St Mirren 1, Ross County 0 is the latest score. And 2 results. That, by the way, has just gone full time. 2 latest scores are now results. And now the other matches have finished as well. Aberdeen 2, Motherwell 3 is a result. And Livingston 2, Hibernian 1. That is your lot. Thanks so much for listening this afternoon, folks. Don't forget Off the Ball back tomorrow 1 to 7 here on News Talk. Joe Malloy in the chair. We got 2 live and exclusive Premier League commentaries to bring you. Richie McCormack and Brian Kerr bringing you the call on Nottingham Forest match against West Ham. That kicks off at 2. Then Stephen Doyle and Vinnie Perth describing the half-4 kick-off between Chelsea and Spurs. All on the FM. Also the Sunday paper review across our digital and social channels from 11:30 with Kieran Shannon and Timmy McCarthy. So be sure to join us tomorrow for some great commentaries and conversation. If you missed any of the Saturday panel on running a marathon with Sonia Sullivan, Katharina McKiernan, Mick Lossy and our own Kieran Cuddihy here, or any of OTB Football Saturday with David Meyler, Dan McDonnell and Johnny Ward, you can find the podcasts of the content on the OTB Sports app or listen back wherever you get your pods. Thanks so much for listening to us on your radio today. We'll speak soon. Bye-bye.
Give him a ball and he had a grass. He'll give you a move for the perfect pass. Give him a ball and he had a space. He'll give you a move with godly grace. Rat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat-tat. He's a nice young man. It's a lovely smile.
On radio, on the News Talk app, powered by Go Loud and Smart.